Full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Amp2.tv presents You and Your Doctor, teaching you to live a longer and healthier life. Proudly sponsored by All County Healthcare, where people are the heart of our business. All County Healthcare is a Medicare certified agency where one call will service all your home care health needs. For more information, call 954-717-7027 or visit our website, allcountyhealthcare.com. Now, let's get informed to living a longer and healthier life. Here is your host for today's show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Welcome back to another episode of You and Your Doctor, sponsored by All County Healthcare. I am your host, Louise Gomez, and we are a certified home healthcare agency servicing Palm Beach County, Broward, and Miami-Dade. You can reach us at 954-717-7027. And tonight we have back with us Dr. Jeff Zurawin at LifeGate Acupuncture. The office is located right here in Boca Raton, Florida. It's at 190 Northwest Spanish River Boulevard, Suite 202. And the phone number to reach him at is 561-921-5433. And that is lifegateacupuncture.com. Thank you so much for coming back, Dr. Zurawin.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be back.
We're excited to have you. It's always a pleasure to learn about what you do at LifeGate Acupuncture, and I guess as well as learning about Chinese medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And some may consider it mysterious, or we don't know, or what is it about, at least on the Western Hemisphere, right? So maybe we can talk a little bit about what got you interested into Chinese medicine, and then what we can learn about the benefits and apply them into nowadays.
That's a great question. You know, Chinese medicine comes from Taoist culture. You know, it's ancient, Chinese culture. During all the dynasties, right? And when I was a university student, I majored in psychology, but I minored in Eastern philosophy and religion. So I got kind of like my first exposure to Taoism at that time, and I was really fascinated by it because it's so profound yet very simple in the ideas and how they're expressed. And then that's the thing that I really loved and intrigued me about Chinese medicine. You know a little bit about our story and how we were led to the path of Chinese medicine. It gave us our greatest gift, which is our son. And if anybody's more interested in learning about that story, you can go to our website and check it out. But I would start learning about Chinese medicine throughout the journey when I would go with Yumi to her appointments. And it was just so beautiful in its metaphor. And it's really, it's simple but not easy. It's simple to understand but not easy to master. It's just as complex, I would say, as Western medicine. And Western medicine has its own lexicon, right? There's a glossary of all different types of medical terms that are foreign to most people's ears, but somehow it's accepted, right? It doesn't sound weird.
Right.
But if we explain things and how the body works using Chinese medicine terms, somehow it seems weird to people, right?
Correct.
But we have some overlapping terms. And the anatomy and physiology of Chinese medicine, the way that we view how the organs, what their function is, it's definitely different than how Western medicine views it. But there is some overlap with function, some of it. But the way that we describe how the organs function and the vital substances of the body, like blood is one that overlaps, right? But we talk about basically 4 different vital substances of the body. We have yin, yang, which that's the core of Chinese medicine, right? Then we have blood, and we have qi, and actually there's another one called essence. Essence is the most vital of the substances. Yeah, essence manifests, like, for example, you know when babies drool and they have like that really clean, clear saliva that's very thick and stretchy? And also, you know, women experience that during their fertile time.
Yes.
Right? They get the stretchy, fertile cervical mucus. That's an expression of essence. Semen in men, that's an expression of essence.
I see.
Yeah, and you know, we're only born with a finite amount of that.
I see.
And so the goal of Chinese medicine is to preserve that and not utilize it too quickly. That was the goal of these Taoist masters that created this system of medicine, is that they wanted to live a long, healthy life full of vitality and joy for many, many years, right? Longevity was very, very important, and especially to the dynasties and the emperors, right, of China. They wanted to live long and prosper and have many offspring, right, for the lineage to continue. So they were very intelligent people, and what they did was that they correlated their observations from nature.
Yes, I like that. I did hear that before.
From the macrocosm, right? The things that are outside and, you know, that go, you know, cosmologically, like the earth, but then we have like the universe and, you know, we have that same thing inside of our bodies. We have representations of that. You know, you look at an atom and, you know, there's like an orbit happening, right? There's energetic fields, there's magnetic fields in our body. So we're a representation of the outside world. So they just observed all this natural phenomenon that was going on around them and then correlated it to things in the body, and then understood that the things that, when things would get out of balance, everything that we needed was right there in our immediate environment, right? So they experimented with different parts of plants and animals to make decoctions of herbal remedies, right, that they would use, and they would figure out the properties of the taste, the energetic property. Does it move up? Does it move down? Is it a warming type of herb? Is it more cooling, right? Because if you take it and your body gets warm, right, then you know that's a warming type of an herb. That's a more yang herb, right? And if it's something that makes you feel more cool, right, that's a more yin herb. So I'm sure you've seen the symbol, the yin and the yang.
The black
symbol,
and the white
right?
with those two circles,
Yeah.
Which is beautiful because it really is the parallels of life, right? The black, the white, the up, the down, the you know, so they were smart to incorporate that into the foundational principles of Chinese medicine.
Now let me ask you, Louise, are you a moon watcher? Do you,
yes,
do you
I
look at the
am.
moon every night?
I am.
So, you know, we have a new moon, right? And then it begins to grow.
Yes.
Right? And we have like little slivers and they get bigger, the light gets bigger. So we have the waxing, that's called the waxing phases of the moon, when it starts to go from dark to light. And then it becomes a full moon.
Right.
And then it returns to the darkness again. Right? That is the symbol of yin and yang. So that's not a static symbol. Those two, you know, some people call them fish or, right? Those representations of yin and yang discuss that they're constantly transforming into one another when they reach their pinnacle. That, you know, so you need both in a harmonious way to function in balance. So like in our bodies, if we have too much yin or too much yang, right? If we're too cold, right, or we're too hot, it will disturb the function of the normal functioning of our organs. And that permeates through all different aspects of not only our physical condition, but also our emotional state.
So true. Because I can tell you so many people who they're not feeling well and maybe they're reacting and they don't even realize maybe they're reacting because something is off with their physical body. So it's so true, and I love how Chinese medicine is in tune with the organs because it's the foundational principle of our body.
Yeah.
So how would one be able to test, like if I were to go to your office, how do you test like the vitality of the organs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's the wonderful thing also about Chinese medicine is we have all of the diagnostic tools on us. So we don't need to really rely on machinery and equipment.
That's
So
amazing.
we check the pulse, we look at the tongue, we look at the complexion, the eyes. So part of our diagnostic process is observation. It's also inquiry, and then palpation.
Oh, and then what?
Palpation,
Okay,
touching,
touching.
right? We're touching the pulses, or sometimes I'll do neck and shoulder palpation, things like that. The pulse, there are different positions on each wrist that correspond to the organs, and so we're looking at the qualities of the pulse, like is it a strong pulse or a weak pulse? Is it a fast, like quick pulse, or is it a very slow pulse? Is it a deep pulse, or is it a more superficial pulse, right? There are different qualities and in the different positions, so that's going to tell us what's going on inside with the different organ systems. And then the same thing with the tongue. So we'll look at the tongue, so that's more observation, and the tongue is a map of the body, and we're looking at the shape, the color, the coating. So if the tongue is more purple, that means that there's stagnation, there's improper circulation happening, impeded circulation, it's slower. Right, so blood is accumulating, it's moving slower, so that can manifest in pain, for example. Blood clots, varicose veins, right? Things that are pooling, even edema, swelling, right? If the blood isn't moving so well, right, then it stagnates and then it accumulates in other areas, and since it's not moving around, it gets dirty, right?
That's true.
Right. If you look at if it's a fresh rain happens, there's a puddle. The puddle is clean initially. Relatively, right? But if you just let it sit there in the standing water over time, right, things
get stagnant.
It gets murky, and because it's stagnant. Yeah.
So I love how it's this beautiful dance of just the different, tests that you do, the tongue, the observation, the palpation, the checking of the pulse. And I feel like everyone has such a distinct and unique fingerprint, if you may, that everyone, I would imagine, has a different remedy or a different way to treat them. It's not one and done.
We call it a pattern.
Right.
That's what we say for diagnosis. We call it a pattern, and everybody has a unique pattern.
I like that.
It's the interplay of the organs and those vital substances that we were talking about. And that's why I specialized in women's health, because I really enjoy that aspect, because a woman has something a man doesn't, right? You have a monthly period. And that tells us a lot also internally about the health that's going on. It gives us a lot more data.
True.
A lot more data. So, women are like the most marvelous creatures on the planet. You get to carry a baby. I mean, there's so many miraculous things you get to do, and you have this, so I think a lot of women might, just because of how society maybe portrays a young girl getting her period, and they kind of, they make it seem like, I don't know, taboo, unclean, dirty. I don't know. It's like kind of weird sometimes.
Yes, I know.
Because when I do inquiries with patients, and I ask them about, the history of when they started their period, and for some it could be like a little bit embarrassing, right? Because maybe there's some shame around it. It's a little bit odd, but the message is that no, it's a beautiful thing, and it really tells us a lot about what's happening, and we get this really important data every single month. And not only that, but you can really see changes. Like if there's imbalances in the body, and then we apply the principles of Chinese medicine to, that pattern, then we, see how wonderful this transformation over the journey happens. Like if a woman has like really like painful clotty periods, they have severe mood swings during their period, things like that. That's just indicative of there's like this imbalance and the disharmony with these organ systems. So we apply those principles. They, as long as they comply with the remedies, right, and they do exactly and follow the guide, we show the path to get there, and then, right, it's a partnership. So
I like that. It's a partnership.
Yes. And, it's like, let's say I'm the coach and you're like my star athlete. So if you take my coaching and you follow the guidelines, you're going to see really great results. So then let's say, like, if you were that example where you had like these painful cloudy periods, and mood swings, maybe like getting really irritable or even severely depressed, and then maybe over the course of about 2 or 3 months you start to see big changes happening. In the beginning they're subtle.
Sure.
Right? Maybe you're sleeping better, maybe your energy starts to come up, you gain a little bit more, like, I don't know, you just get a little bit more pep in your step, right, in the beginning. But then, like, those little changes that happen over the course of time, they become monumental changes.
Because it's a natural process.
Yeah.
Had it have been a pharmaceutical process, it could be, quicker, but not necessarily a natural process.
Right.
But because it's a natural process, it's a slower, more balancing the body back into homeostasis.
Yeah. You bring up a really great point, because when we look at pharmaceutical drugs, the classes of the main drugs, they're blockers, inhibitors, suppressants, right? But so basically that's blocking the body's natural process from
We got a quick
expressing
commercial
itself.
break. We're going to continue the conversation. I'm loving it. We'll be right back, everybody.
All County Healthcare has exciting news for any and all patients with COPD or other respiratory ailments. Listen to what renowned pulmonologist Dr. Keith Robinson has to say.
Hello, I'm Dr. Keith Robinson, board-certified pulmonologist, medical director at Fusion Health Pulmonary Rehabilitation, and a board member with the American Lung Association of South Florida. We have exciting news for patients with COPD. We now offer IPV therapy at home, which has been demonstrated to improve airway clearance, decrease hospitalization, and improve quality of life of patients with COPD. Please call All County Healthcare for more information about this FDA-approved therapy.
For further information, call All County Healthcare now at 954-717-7027. That is 954-717-7027, or visit our website at allcountyhealthcare.com. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Remember, All County Healthcare always puts the patient's needs first. You are listening to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, an informative show that helps you find answers to questions you always wanted to ask, but did not have that somebody that could make a difference in your life. Call into the show if you have a question at 888-565-1470, and we will put you on the air to inform all our listeners. Now, back to our show.
Thank you for tuning back in, everybody. We are with Dr. Jeff Zurawin, and the phone number to reach him is 561-921-5433. He's right here in Boca. The address is 190 Northwest Spanish River Boulevard, Suite 202. And you can certainly look up at the website, lifegateacupuncture.com. I've been there. I've had some great experiences, so I can certainly speak about that. But Dr. Zurawin, we were discussing pharmaceutical medicines, and we were saying the blockers, the inhibitors, all these things that they do to stop the process. How does that affect us as our health as a whole? Yeah.
I think it's like trying to put your fingers in the dike, as it's busting open, So it's not trying to establish root cause, let's put it that way. It's just masking symptoms and creating
really
a lifelong dependency.
Big distinction. I want everybody to hear that. It's not addressing the root cause. And that's what what Chinese medicine does, is you get to the root cause of the problem.
Yes.
You're not just slapping the Band-Aid on and, okay, you don't have that symptom anymore.
Yes.
So root cause medicine.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we don't have to call it like this, multi-syllabic, really long, very difficult to understand word for, if you look at, like a handbook on modern diseases, it's like 50 years ago, we didn't have all these different autoimmune conditions, right? I mean,
Good point.
But if I say, like, let's say somebody has like a liver spleen disharmony or spleen chi deficiency or something like that is their main pattern, right? That sounds so bizarre to people, right? It's for me, like being on both sides. It's like I find it comical, but like it's like really, it's like somehow that is like weird. But like calling something like a blastioma or just because it has these Latin and Greek roots,
right?
It's somehow it's fancy. It makes it
sounds more
official. Makes it more believable,
right? More believable, more official. And the ear, our ear, like we're so used as Americans. I'll speak for us here. We're so used to that type of terminology. So when we have somebody maybe saying a weak chi in the liver or this or that, it does sound a little mystical or interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, it's very simple, right? It's easy to understand, but it's difficult to master, because let's say if you knew that your diagnosis is spleen chi deficiency, you could go online and you could probably look up some things and but you could follow some basic guidelines, and there's a lot of really great information out there. So I highly encourage people that if they are seeing a Chinese medicine practitioner and they get their diagnosis or their pattern, to go look it up and go down that rabbit hole. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Because the stories and the metaphors behind, the points that are used and the herbs that are used, they're fun and they're fascinating and they're really interesting. And they're not like deterministic in a negative way. Right?
I like that.
Yeah, Chinese medicine has a lot of hope in it.
I like that.
And a lot of love and a lot of hope. So it's a completely different type of medicine, and it's practiced in a completely different way. And somehow people are afraid of it. And that's the whole point of tonight, is to really demystify it and just to demonstrate that there's nothing to fear. Because you're not, first of all, try it, but really give it a good try, because it's not going to harm you, right? You can, like your doctor can say, here, I want to put you on this prescription, right? They can't tell you, oh, it's not going to harm you. They can't tell you that,
right?
Because if you watch commercials and the pharmaceutical commercials come on and they give you the litany of all of the potential side effects of the medication, nobody really listens to it.
It's, you know what it is? It has become almost kind of like, how do you say it? It's like we're so used to it.
We're desensitized.
Thank you,
right?
desensitized. I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, it's like in our day with the cigarette warnings, right?
Right.
But here you got the smoker, he's reading the pack, right? Oh, okay, whatever. It can give me cancer or whatever. I don't care.
Totally desensitized.
Yeah.
So herbs. So I like that. So
I wouldn't self-prescribe herbs.
Sure, no. They would. It would be a protocol dependent upon their pattern.
Yeah.
And then you would be able to know what to give them, and then see them again and maybe tweak it or change it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because even though they're like textbook basic patterns, human beings are complex beings, complex life forms, and everybody's so unique that you have to tailor, like even the classic formulas, you have to modify them and tailor them for their specific presentation of their pattern.
So if someone were to come in and do an exam with you, is there a typical, maybe you want to see them for a certain amount of time, and how often would they come back, or what would a sample protocol may look like, if you may?
So it depends what I'm treating. I mean, if it's pain, it's usually it'll be a session-based plan.
Okay.
Like if I feel like it's like more of an acute case, that might be like between 12 and 20 sessions, and if it's something chronic, that could be more like 30 to 40 or even 50 sessions.
Sure.
As a plan.
And how often, more or less, would people come back? Every week?
If it's if it's either acute or chronic for pain, it would be coming 3 times a week for the first couple of weeks typically.
Okay.
And then because we really want to cover as much ground in as quick time as possible to get people out of pain, and then we start to change the frequency of the visits. Instead of 3 times a week, 2 times a week, eventually getting to only once a week, and then once a month for maintenance, just as an example. But when I'm working with fertility or women's health, that usually requires a minimum of a 3-month plan. So we do a time-based plan, and those are all inclusive plans where they get their treatments included, all of their herbs, all of their supplements. We take all the guesswork out of it.
I like that.
We don't make everything ad hoc. And so I have a plan, I have a vision, when we meet, and I know what I'm going to do. So I know how I'm going to get you to Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
To your destination.
Yep.
I know how to get you there. So, and then I put together all of the things that are necessary to do that. And so like that 3-month time frame is a really good foundation. There are a lot of amazing changes that can happen in 3 months. And then we figure things out after that. We have another conversation of where are we going to go from here. We've already created this great foundation. We've already gotten to this point. Now we have to get to here, so we have to continue the journey. Some people can continue the journey on their own, and some people need the additional support.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the word frequency, and you were talking about the frequency of when they come, and then I was thinking the frequency and vibration of our organs.
Yeah.
They become, I imagine, as the chi gets stronger and better and more vital, and the essence.
Right.
It becomes
so that's what we're feeling.
Our frequency.
Yeah.
We emit a different frequency.
We will. Yeah, and people will notice too. Like you'll sparkle more. Right?
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is the true radiance of anti-aging, I say.
Yeah.
The true anti-aging is that little sparkle within that we radiate beauty because we feel well, because our vitality is stronger.
Yeah.
So even for women who want anti-aging opportunities and they don't want to do invasive or Botox, I think for myself, I would recommend someone to see you because that little sparkle, that little feeling of just feeling better.
Because beauty really does come from the inside out, and being healthy and being hormonally balanced. No matter what stage you are in your life, right? It's going to express itself, that vitality and that health. I mean, and think about the thousands of years of history. I mean, emperors, had their, they had their empresses, right? And they had their many wives, and they all felt a desire to maintain their youthfulness and their beauty and their fertility, right, for many years.
True.
So of course, in the royal infirmary, they had access to all of the anti-aging aspects of Chinese medicine. Yeah. Because it's just inherently anti-aging.
That's right.
Because when you improve the functions of the organs and you improve circulation, and when you reduce the stress response, right, the body's just naturally going to express vitality and health. Yeah, and it's just going to recover because the body has an amazing ability to do that.
Don't we?
If you allow it to.
We have an innate resilience as a human body, right?
But not if you suppress it.
True.
Not if you block it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
When we allow it to express and when we are open to different things. But we actually have like 2 minutes left, if you can believe this interview.
Went by fast.
Yeah, it went by fast. We actually have 1 minute left. So Dr. Zurawin, is there any last minute, whatever you'd like to share with the audience, please feel free. We have actually about a minute left before we wrap it up. Please.
Well, sure. I mean, I just hope that everyone who's listening and anybody who's going to listen to the recording, I hope you got some value out of tonight. I'm here to help, so you have the number, you have access to me if you have any additional questions. I'm happy to answer. I would love to set up a consultation because I'm a big fan of the show. The consultation would be complimentary for any of the viewers. Just mention this show when you book your appointment.
Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everybody, and we will see you next week.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Heartfelt Connections Club with me, Brielle. Remember, even the smallest act of service can make a big impact, and it all starts with you.
If you have a doctor or are
Whether
a
you want
doctor
to volunteer,
and wish to be on the show,
support a
call
nonprofit,
Amp2
or just
TV
share your
at
story,
866-244-5422. and we will put you on the air as soon as possible. Tune in next week for more information on living longer and having a healthier life.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
WSFS 104.3 HD3 Miramar, WIRK 103.1 HD3 Indiantown, and heard in Broward on 96.9 FM, Boca Raton on 95.3 FM, West Palm Beach on 95.9 FM,